Welcome to Cash Flow Savannah. This is episode 49. Chandler, how are you?
I am doing pretty good. It is full-fledged baseball season right now, so
Love it.
that's keeping me pretty happy.
Me too. You and I both love baseball season. And
Yeah.
what comes with baseball season is hot weather. We have a very timely podcast today for our audience. Today, we are talking about the weather and we are talking about how to keep your guests from killing your air conditioner bill. Have you heard a little bit about this, Chandler? Ever discussed
I've
this?
heard I've heard plenty about this, so it's a good topic to
Yes.
talk about.
Yes. Chandler and I work in this industry. We own short-term rentals. We know how painful it can be when the guests blow out your electric bill.
Mhm.
It's horrible. And of course, as property managers, at Sid was here, we're always the one taking those phone calls. They're, where they're going, hey, I've got a very high bill this month and I'm upset about it. And we understand that. But we've told people over and over, but now we're putting it on YouTube. We're putting it on a podcast. We're going to put it on writing. We want to plan ahead for this. It's not something you can do once you get the bill, right? You've got to deal with it before the guest even arrives.
Yeah, you know how I am about being proactive. That's my favorite word. Instead of being reactive, be proactive about this. I always try to tell owners, like, hey, think about it when you go to a hotel. Are you putting it on 72 and like trying to be conservative? Like, nobody is trying to be conservative when it's their like not their property, because at the end of the day they're not paying the bill, so they don't care. They're going to crank it down to whatever they want to, unless you make some changes to where they can't.
Well,
So
and may I say, I'm going to just toot my own little horn right now. Of all the owners that we manage for, have you ever had this complaint from me? Have I ever called and yelled at you about my AC bill, Chandler?
no, thank you for that.
You're welcome. I've got you. Well, it's because I know all of this information and I did it years ago before I even had one guest, I actually did all of these things. And that's the truth. That's how I know this because I am an owner myself and I have not yet gone broke. And I don't call and yell at Chandler because I don't even worry about it. I'm already set. So I'm telling you, as an owner myself, these tips work.
Yeah.
And you don't want to hear it in July. You need to hear this now and get it done before July, before June, before May. And then you'll be happy like me.
Yeah, no, I tell you, the owners that have like taken the advice and actually done it, they're very happy now. So just take that advice and actually do it. It's probably something you don't want to do, but it actually works.
Right.
So
It does work. I am sitting here a testament to the fact that it works. And once I realized all these tricks, I was like, okay, suck it up, do it now. And then later, no stress.
yeah, so proactive, that's the main word of today. I always say
That's
it, but
right. Proactive.
I'm gonna
So we have,
keep saying it until
that's right. Well, and we've already been talking. We had our morning meeting today, and our maintenance needs are down so much because of the great work that you're doing. It was here, Chandler, and you've been very proactive about issues. When the guests are happy, we're happy. When the owners are happy, we're happy. And it's been a really nice summer so far.
yeah, no, it takes some getting used to kind of get the systems down, but even today we're still trying to get the perfect systems. I don't know if there is a perfect systems, but we're always striving to make it better.
That's
So,
right. We want
but
to
yeah,
stay
it's
strong.
a lot less this summer than last.
Yes.
So
When we have 5 tips today, they're not complicated. It's not too many, but just 5 tips that you can do to save your air conditioner bill from your guests.
sure are. I will go with tip number one is going to be insulation is probably some of your like yes, that's going to be probably your most expensive tip that we're telling you. Um, but it is a huge help. Yeah, if you don't have insulation, like especially like in the attic, that attic heat will just drop right on down into like if it's upstairs, it gets so hot upstairs, and because your attic is just extremely hot, you can almost like if you're upstairs and you know where the attic door is, I can put my hand around the attic door and just feel the heat coming out. So I think that would be tip number one. It is a little bit more costly, but I think in the long run, your return on investment is pretty good.
Absolutely. Well, and when you're dealing with a new house, I'm going to speak as an investor here, and I have new houses, I have old houses. But when I do the new houses, we put in spray foam. And when I buy an old house, which I have a lot, I put in spray foam. And of course, we all want to save money and just do the roll in. But this is how I look at it as an investor myself. I want to pass my portfolio on to my children and my children's children. Like, I don't buy stuff for a year. Okay. I'm not a flipper. And we're here to talk property management, which means you are keeping that for a while. And I just can't say enough. It's probably another 30% more to do spray foam. But when you look at the fact that it's going to save you 20 to 30% over a lifetime on your air conditioner bill, that spray foam, much like our services, it's gonna pay for itself. Okay. Like, it's gonna be painful to come up with the several $1,000s up front, and I've had to do it. But when you look at the cost of a new air conditioning system, which is $8,000 to $10,000, spending $3,000 to $5,000 in spray foam is an investment. It's a permanent investment in that property. And you may go through 3 or 4 systems over the years, but if you cannot burn that system out because it's well insulated. And in my own home, we have spray foam, and I have guys in my attic all the time in the summer. And before I had it, they would come down and they're drenched in sweat. And I mean drenched. Like, these guys carry multiple outfits in these trucks, but they're always so happy when they're in my attic. They're like, wow, it's only 80 degrees up here or whatever. So
Yeah,
I want to say insulation, but use the right insulation.
there you go. Yeah, I've seen insulation in some, and it's not the right for sure. And you can still just feel the heat. Like, I've been to some attics during the summer, and it's not fun. So
Well, and we work with all types of investors, and the ones that do the cheapest thing possible, you can tell,
yeah.
unfortunately, it bleeds everywhere. And then that tends to come out in the bills.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, not just insulation, but the right insulation. So, number 2 on our list, regular filter changes. Regular. If we manage your property, we're trying to do that every 3 months. Worst case scenario, every 6 months. That is
Mhm.
so important. I'll bet you've seen some rough filters in your day.
Yeah, no, I have. I would the earlier the better to change it. That's all I can say. Because sometimes they would get so bad, like even after 3 months, like they get pretty bad, and it'll just shut off um
Right.
your whole unit. So yeah, that's one thing that I would do. It's kind of one of those things you don't think about, but um, some people even mention monthly, but yeah, 3 months like the
Those monthly, wouldn't you agree? Those are the very cheap filters. And personally, I like the kind of more mid-grade filters that are approved to change every 3 months. I think they do a better job than those cheap ones that have to be. Do you have an opinion on what kind of filter?
um. I've heard I've heard different people say, "Oh, it don't matter." I've even heard some people like, "Oh, the cheap ones are better." So I'm not a HVAC guy. Maybe we can
Yeah.
ask one of them and see what they say. But I've heard different opinions. I normally get the mid grade, kind of not like the crazy expensive $15 for one, but like
Yeah.
$4 or $5, and it's like kind of
Okay.
just a normal one. But no, I've heard some people say, "Oh, get the cheap one. They work just just as well or even better." And I was like, "Huh."
Well, I'm
So,
just thinking about my system costing me, roughly $10,000 to replace. Like, that $8 to $10 filter every 3 months is nothing
yeah,
compared to the damage that my system is going to have if I don't change that filter. So it's just, the better the system is kept up, the less it's going to cost you to replace and repair and all those other things.
yeah. So tip number three, we're going with get like an HVAC person to come out and like program your thermostat to where they can't go below 60. What would you say? 68, 67? What would your number be?
Well, if you stay in one of my properties, it won't go below 70.
Okay.
That's my number. Okay. And this is something that no one talks about, and we need to highlight it, is that HVAC guys, they have skills that you and I don't have. Now, we could probably get on Google and figure it out if we have to,
Hmm.
but every time I launch a new unit, I have the I'm going to have my unit serviced anyway. And then while they're there for servicing, I tell the guy, Bob, Larry, Joe, hey, I'm going to have short-term rental guests in here. I don't want them to be able to crank up my system, and I don't want them to crank down my system. I haven't personally ever been able to do it, but for a small fee, $80 to $150, I don't know what they charge for it, but it's worth it. Even if you have to pay them to come just to do it, it's worth it.
Hmm.
Set it to where they can push that down button all day long. It's not going to set below 70 degrees, and they can push the up button all day long. For my systems, it's not going to go above 78 degrees, maybe 79, but I can't imagine anyone needing to heat it higher because guests, they don't care. Okay. They don't, just expect that. And so if they come in, it's freezing cold, they're going to go, I'm going to crank this up to 90 because they're not smart enough to realize that that does not help the system cool or heat any faster. It's just going to work the system. And then once it gets up, they're going to crank it back down. And I had the misfortune of staying in a friend of mine's short-term rental. And one of the people staying there, it was they were heavier and they got hot. Well, they cranked the system to 52 degrees. And I was so embarrassed. I kept trying to push it back up. They would get upset with me. And, knowing what that was doing to this owner's system, it really bothered me. And that's what a guest is going to do. They're going to think that cranking it to 52 is going to make them feel better. But in actuality, all it's doing is killing the owner's system. The house is still going to cool at the same rate.
Yeah. No, that's what you got to think about is the guests do not care. And they just don't care. They're not paying the bill. They're like, oh, I'm paying you hundreds of dollars to stay here. I want to put it at whatever I want. Um, but yeah, just get that in your head. Guests don't care. They're going to crank it to whatever they want and just control it.
And, we've had owners, they want to yell at us and say, you should do something about it. And I'm like, no, you should do something about it. My staff
Yeah.
is trained, right? If the guest calls and go, this thermostat won't go below 70, they go, oh, we're so sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Guest. It's not going to cool lower than 70 degrees in the house anyway, no matter where you set it. But there's nothing we can do. We kind of throw our hands up in the air and just say, please turn on the ceiling fans. Let's relax. It's going to cool down. But yes, that's true. You won't, the thermostat, it doesn't go below that. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, no.
And sometimes guests will say that. We handle it. The owner never hears about it, but that's a set it and forget it system that most people don't realize is that you can just program your thermostat and there's nothing that guest can do. And that really does take away a lot of stress because the AC is not going to get a house to 52 degrees, not in Savannah, Georgia. It's not going
No,
to do it. If
I
you're
don't think that's
lucky, it'll
possible.
get it to 70.
Yeah. So, but yeah, think about like, have you ever been in a hotel and they come to your room? They're like, hey, what's your thermostat on? Like, make sure it's above 70. No, no one ever, like, they control the situation. And so keep that in mind.
They're paying a lot of money to stay there. They see it as their right to turn your
Yeah.
thermostat to 50 degrees.
Uh-huh.
But they physically can't. If it stops at 70 and then we educate them and say, hey, it's not going to get a lot cooler anyway. It's very hot. We're just in a hot environment. They have to accept that. There's really nothing they can do at that point.
Yep, yep. So what do we got next? Tip number 4.
Oh, I'm supposed to be saying that. I'm sorry, Chandler. I'm failing you. Tip number 4, call your power company. What a lot of people don't realize is that the power company is able to see your bill over a period of time and they'll average it out for you, which is kind of a blessing because, we make more money in the summer, but when our bills go up, it's so frustrating. And Georgia Power is who most of our properties run on here in Savannah. You can call Georgia Power and just say, hey, I want my bill spread out over an entire year. So they'll go ahead and make every single month, let's say $200, knowing, and trust me, at the end of the year, they're going to come for you. If you owe them more or less, they'll give it back. But that's been very helpful to our owners. I don't personally do that. Because I've kind of already set myself up. But if you are someone who it really does affect you when in the summer the bills are higher and the winter the bills are lower, definitely call your power company. They're happy to help you with that. You can even do that on your own home.
We've had several owners do it, and they are more than happy because it's so funny. I know some owners it would drive them crazy when they would just leave like the garage light or like a carport light on constantly. And
Yeah.
It's the outdoor light on constantly, and they're like, "Oh, I don't care anymore. Like the bill's going to be this no matter what." So that kind of keeps them at peace when guests are just leaving outdoor lights on whenever they want. So I think it's a good way to kind of solve that issue. But I also like keeping the light. I mean, there's some lights that we do keep on at all times, and if it bothers you, just go ahead and get that sucker set, to where it's just the same monthly bill every month.
Well, and speaking of lights, this is just a bonus tip. I mean, in my rentals, I use one of those bulbs that senses if it's daylight because it would drive me crazy too when they would leave the front porch light on. Especially
Yeah,
because I live near some of mine. But I put in that bulb there on Amazon, and now if they leave the light on all night, whatever. But then in the day it turns off,
yeah,
and I don't want to kill anyone.
that's funny. I ran across that bulb a couple weeks ago. It looks kind of fun. It looks funky. I was like, "What in the world is this thing?"
Yeah.
Sure enough, it was one of those. It cuts off during the day if it knows. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, "That's smart." So that's a good bonus tip right there.
Bonus tip.
So tip 4, we just did it, which is call your power company. Tip 5 is, and I'm going to add a bonus tip to this too. So tip 5 would be close your blinds, curtains, close them as well. That really helps. I don't know if you've ever been next to windows when it's really hot here in Savannah. Like you can feel the heat just hitting you. Um, and closing blinds and curtains really do help. But here's another bonus tip I want to add is, and I've noticed this, is tint on your windows.
That's true.
I don't know if you have tint on your windows, but I have tint on like my door windows and all that, and it's like super cool. Like almost no heat is getting through. It's a little bit more costly, but I think it helps a ton.
Well, compared to insulation, tint is nothing. But yes, absolutely. If you have a window that gets direct sun, that's a great tip, Chandler. We should have added that to as tip 6, but you can have tint that's going to reflect, the rays back out. That makes a huge
Mhm.
difference. But yes, we've at Cibus here in the warmer months, we've started asking our guests, please keep the blinds closed, keep the curtains closed, and keep the ceiling fans on. Because if you can keep the interior of the home cool all day, that makes a big difference. But once that house heats up, it takes a very long time, to get it cooled back down. So if we're getting a complaint from the guests, we're going to educate them and say, Miss Guest, we understand it is hot here and this building can only do so much. And this, system can only do so much, but please just keep the windows closed and cool inside. And then as the day heats up, that sun isn't getting in to heat it up. And that makes them a lot more comfortable. We really are trying to put a little bit more on the guest to say, hey, these are some things you can do. We know you can't turn it below 70, but these are some things that you can do, which is close the dang blinds.
Yeah. So yeah, that helps. And then the tint's also another privacy thing too.
Yeah.
It kind of helps with privacy as well. So they make some tint you can't even see through inside. You just see the reflection of yourself. So that's probably something I would spend money on, just because I think it's cool. I like it. But yeah, keep those blinds closed. I would just really during the summer. Fans at my house are running on full blast nonstop. Like it's just I don't ever turn them off. So it's huge help.
It is. Just keep that air circulating. So, we're always trying to educate the guests, but we also want to educate you as investors. Like there are things you can do to combat this. Quit being upset about it. Just plan for it. Just expect it and set your house up appropriately. And it's going to make so much more money, because you have it set up appropriately.
Yeah, for sure. So take action on this. Please do. I promise you it works, it helps, and most importantly, it saves you money so you can cash flow more. Everybody likes that, right?
Everybody likes cash flow.
So, well, we appreciate you guys coming on and listening to this very short but informative podcast today. Please let us know any ideas or what y'all want to hear in the comments below, or just reach out to us and say, hey, I really want to hear this. And we take y'all's advice and give y'all what y'all want, not what we want.
That's right.
So, but please like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.